Welcome to the Polymatic Podcast, episode 6 for December 4th, 2016. Today's topic, games.
Hi, I'm John.
Hey, I'm Alan.
We've been playing a lot of games. Recently, I've been playing Minecraft and No Man's Sky and Mass Effect a couple of times.
Mm-hmm.
But there's more than just video games, of course. So we're going to talk about games like boards and card games and stuff like that, and alternate reality games like Pokemon Go and Ingress. So, and of course, you had something about Artemis, right?
Yeah, so there's Artemis. Then there was also the other conversation I'm realizing. We should probably, we should probably have some commentary about Pokemon Go if we haven't already. But if we're focusing on Artemis, okay, so what do you want to know?
So you talked a bit about that and hooking it up to all sorts of stuff. So I was kind of curious about it, and I've never actually played this. I've looked it up, but it looks interesting. It's just don't have enough people around here to do that with. So
yeah, so this is definitely a game you can't really play alone. You do have to play with multiple people. So the way they qualify it is it's a Starship Bridge simulator. Okay. Otherwise, it's basically playing Star Trek with half a dozen people. Okay, so if you want to just get down to the logistics of it, there is a server that's involved, the thing that hosts, and that is the thing that can or really primarily acts as the main screen. And usually you want to hook that up to like a projector or a big TV or something that everyone can be looking at physically in the same room. And that is where the captain should be really communicating, looking at that and working. And then there are the operational, other consoles, right? So you got helm, flies the ship. You got weapons, blows things up. You have science, which is the thing that has access to long-range sensors and handles tactile and information, defense information about the enemies or the unknowns, right?
And that's all played on different devices, right?
Different computers, different devices. You can play Artemis on Android or iOS, or iOS, and it is primarily a desktop PC Windows game. However, people have run it through Parallels and run it just fine, the PC game on their Macs as well. And you can buy it on Steam. You can buy it directly from them. I paid $36 and I got 6 licenses, which is good for a group of people. In fact, I think I've bought it more than once, so I think I have 12 to 18 licenses or something like that.
But those licenses are stuck to the devices?
Nope. They're just, hey, you did the honor system, you paid for it, and you give a person a copy of an executable they can install, and then you can all play together.
Okay, but you have to install it manually on your device, not through the App Store.
So if you are doing something through like an app store like iOS or Android, yeah, you can just download it. You pay for it as $3.
Okay, but you can also play it on a Windows machine.
And you can play the mix and all of them together. The only kind of problem that we found as a group that plays at least once a month is that the Wi-Fi, no matter how perfect your Wi-Fi is, sometimes, depending on the level of effort, the Artemis sort of telemetric data that's going back and forth can be too intense for Wi-Fi, and, Helm might lose control of the ship kind of stuff. And so what we've done is we've made it a LAN. We've set up we literally just wire everything with Ethernet. So unless you have a tablet or a phone that you can tack in with Ethernet, you're gonna have mixed results with Wi-Fi.
So you're all working on Windows machines?
For the most part, we have one guy who runs on a Mac, and he just runs Play on Mac, and he runs Artemis through that.
Okay.
And then so I covered weapons and helm, and then there's science, right? That has long-range sensors, and then there's engineering. And engineering is the thing that controls repairing the ship and also keeping power imbalance and things not from catching on fire and blowing up.
What about red shirts?
So there's no real concept for red shirts. Then
Oh,
there's communications, and then communications also. So when you look at it at the surface of each of these roles, they all look like. Oh, and then there's obviously the sixth, which is the captain, right? That's really important. So when you're really running it correctly, you need 6 devices. Okay, you need something that is acting as your server and your main screen, and then everyone runs basically a blind console, meaning you have your different operations, so helm, weapons, engineering, science, and communications. And then the captain, in theory, should not have a device and should be listening to each of these stations, giving him the intel that he or she needs to know, and the captain will then, orchestrate how you play the game. And that's it. That's how it should fundamentally work. However, we've played it enough that we all sort of run there's another option. You can run something called a captain's map, which is like a cross section of long range sensors. Basically what science gets to see, the captain gets to see with captain's map, except that the science console gets to do certain things and the captain's map does not. So what it allows you to do is allows you the captain kind of look around on the map, find the enemies or find the campaigns, and then go ahead and give direction to the other stations.
so basically the captain is the DM. If you're talking in Dungeons and
If you're
Dragons
talking
speak.
about it from that, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's correct. And so the big thing about it is that the most fundamental 3 stations that own most of the attention most of the time are weapons, helm, and engineering. And you really can't you can't make one of those guys also do science and communications. So you really kind of need at the most minimal, you really need at least 4 or 5 people to run. Now with us, we're experienced enough that we can run with 4 no problem, and one of us sort of takes 2 things, right? Science and comms. So if science is doing its job really well, it doesn't need to be functionally active all the time. It scans everything, it gets all the intel. And in the case of science, its handicap is that it can only scan one thing at one time,
Hmm.
and it needs to do 2 scans. One scan gets the general what kind of ship it is, and then the second scan gets the like information about their shields, if they have shields, their state of shields, what's the frequency for phasers, those kinds of things. So every one of these consoles has a handicap. Yeah. So the point what I was trying to make was that these top 3 ones really need full attention. So you need someone who isn't doing more than one thing at once. If you're a real skilled crew, you can do it. And then comms, again, same thing. On the outset, it looks like there isn't a lot to do. It's the only station that can communicate with other ships, communicate with enemies, communicate with space stations, and is where campaigns or requests come through from the enemies and or other ships and or space stations, that when you take these campaigns, you go ahead and you run a mission, and you'll get upgrades or you get things that also feed and unlock other aspects of the game.
So could you hook up multiple Artemis bridges together?
You can have multiple ships on one server.
Nice.
So you can have if you had 24 people, if you had a real skilled crews, you could break them out into 3 different ships. And Artemis also has different ships. So there are ships that are slow but really powerful and can take a beating. There are carriers that don't really have any weapon complements, but they have little mini fighters, so you can take multiple stations. So if you get bored as comms, you could also, when you sign in to the server, you could also take a fighter position, and you can go off and fly a little plane that has little missiles and phasers on it, and you can act as a fighter. But
Is
not all ships have fighters on them.
is it
Um,
is it turn based or is it
no, it's
more
real time.
real time? Okay,
Hmm.
so you can basically get overrun if you want if that
Yeah.
happens.
So yeah, and then there's different ships. So the default Artemis ship looks like Voyager from Star Trek. um, and there are different ships. So there's like light missile cruisers that has 4 tubes. Then there's like Artemis, which has phasers and full tubes, and has a pretty good range on its phasers. Some ships will have big, huge open gaps in the back, or have absolutely zero phasers in the rear. Some will have it all the way around, but then they have no missiles. So each of the things has a handicap built into its design. Um, in recent updates, they added other races that you can play as. So you can play as sort of enemy ships,
Okay,
and they have a mercenary race called the Zimni. Is it Zimni? I think it might be Zimni. I feel like that sounds like a Star Trek Voyager conversation about a species that
Ac-
existed, but um,
actually more
I
like Enterprise. There was a species in Enterprise called the Zindi.
Zindi. Yeah, so
Yeah.
there's a Zimmi. I believe it's Zimni. We haven't played in like basically all through November. We kind of canceled out our games on November because of holidays. So we like this one game that is a Zimni battleship, and if you push its power levels up in a certain way, it is fast, and it has about 95% coverage. So I would say it has about 320 degrees of phaser coverage. And if you push the power up on the phasers, they go super fast. So it's a super fast ship, and it has super fast phaser coverage, and it only has whatever 2 or 3 missile tubes on it. And it's a powerful ship, but it bleeds through energy like there is no tomorrow. But we kind of got comfortable with that ship. So the Artemis is a great, great default ship. Um, but we like the Zimni ship. So, but anyhow, so each of the ships have different complements, and one of the other things you can do is you can play through warp or FTL, jump drive, or through warp. So
You
either
have a
or.
choice.
Yeah, you have a choice when you go in with your ship. And so learning how to do jump drive really requires a big coordination between helm, the captain, and science.
So that's more like BSG type thing.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh, okay. Is that for everyone?
So if you can do it for any of the ships.
Okay, so you can mix them up.
Yeah, you can only do only one. So it's either a ship that drives by warp or drives by
Well, You,
FTL.
you said you could have multiple ships, so could you?
Yes, so if you have multiple crews and multiple ships, then
But
yes, you could have one group that has warp and one group that has
okay,
FTL. So, I mean, what you realize is the tactics are completely different. So, for example, what we figured out is if we want to go to Sector B4 because we want to go and attack a cluster of people that are heading towards one of our space stations, what we'll do is science and the captain, if he has captain's map up or he or she has captain's map up, they can see the range on the enemy, so they can click on an enemy and they can see that it's 42,000 K out. And so what we'll do is we will take a look at the edge of the perimeter and say, okay, 38,000 is the safe point, and with the Zimni ship, the battleship that we like, we can pick them off at 3,000 range, right? Where the standard Artemis ship has like 1,000. So what we would do is we'll FTL in at 38,000, and then we'll pick off all the small ships with phasers, and we'll lighten the load, and then we'll come in and we'll nuke them, or we'll throw missiles at them, or whatever it is. But the problem is FTL has a recharge state on it. It eats through power like there's no tomorrow, and because you jump in, you have to stay there for a while. You have to wait until you can recharge. So it has, again, a handicap in its design. And with warp, you kind of have to go. You can only go up to warp 3 right now. So I know I was just talking a lot. I covered a lot of stuff. But I think one of the really kind of neat things that I noticed about it is that a really good functioning crew will have played each station a little bit and knows what each other expects from each other. So helm and comms need to work together. Science and comms needs to work together. Weapons and science needs to work together. Captain and comms needs to work together. And each of these things, even though on the outset they look like, oh, comms must be easy, I'll do that. It's not so easy. If you're paying attention, there's a constant, ever little notification chain of things coming through for campaigns or for help, or, hey, we see that you need this and you can't fight this enemy. If you go do this, you go here and do that thing for us over here and do that, we'll upgrade your power cells, right? So there's a little coordination that needs to go on, and I really believe this is a good team building exercise with people.
It kind of sounds like it.
Yeah, I look at it.
Interesting for people in offices as well.
I totally believe that. So, like, I always looked at it as, like, at Otakon, we have sort of a staff retreat once a year, and I exposed me and another person. We kind of brought Artemis and set up with a projector screen and a bunch of computers, and people played, and they fell in love with it. And then they went off and have, like, been playing this game on their own with their friends. And every once in a while, we'll do it again. And I always had this opinion that I always thought it would be really neat to make an event, at least internally for us, at like one of these things, where we put all the people who are in charge of the convention. They had to be communications. And then we put all the people at the lower levels, like in the hierarchy of people who are not department heads, and put them in the leadership roles. And then see, not only just like play the game together for a bonding experience, but also to see how each of them can walk away from that and saying, okay, that was a really good thing. I see that you have more potential.
Oh, wow. I think this is a very good idea. This could also work for managers and staff.
Yeah. And I really believe, like, I wish I could expose this inside the company. This would be perfect, because people, where things fall apart is in actual communication. And this game absolutely requires it for you to be able to do well.
Well, so in the company I work for as well, we're mostly nerds. So
yeah, this would be perfect.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's a good game for that. I bought it directly from the website. So let me go ahead and I'll look up the information. I'll give a link before our show is out on it.
Okay.
But I bought it directly from them, and what I do is I just put the game on on a flash drive, and I give it that to people, and then they go from there, right? And they install it, and it's pretty quick and easy. One of the things that Artemis has built in, but I have not played with, so we want to talk about the geeky stuff. They have a couple neat geeky things that I've heard about that I have yet to engage. But now that I have the Philips Hue system, I plan on buying a couple of the color bulbs, a pair of them, and put them in overhead lights upstairs where we play the game. And you can find Java and some .NET that are based on the Java open source projects, where you can, control your Philips Hue Wi-Fi, and you can build yourself an Artemis client. So one of the things that communications can turn on is red alert. And so what you hear is the red alert noise, and things, are blinking red. And so if that's firing off or you get hit, that stuff fires off, and it does output to serial port data. But if you're an Artemis client, you can also know, so when you get hit, your screens glitch, and they're really difficult to work with. So if your helm or your weapons and you're getting hit, everything kind of frizzes, and you can't see or click on anything. It disables you while you're getting attacked. So the idea was that I plan on working on eventually, which is make an Artemis client that listens for red alert or damage control, and then would make the hue lights go red and blink and flash.
Are you gonna hook up explosives? That's the
Uh,
ultimate test,
n-
right?
so I heard I had a friend who had just had the right smoke machine, and he
Oh,
hooked it up to the Artemis server, and he got it to basically when damage got hit, it would fire off the smoke machine, and it would puff up smoke.
I have a smoke machine. I could do that.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
does it have the right serial port on the back of it?
I could probably make it.
Yeah.
Just modify it a
Well,
little
you
bit.
yes, you probably could with an Arduino and everything. So anyhow,
Anyway,
I mean, it's a pretty fun game, but you really got to play with people,
yeah.
and the thing that it does really require is yes, you got to have a group of people that are real nerdy. We play it mostly with the podcast group, and so one of the guys, this guy Andrew on our show, he likes to buy old school ThinkPads that have a certain kind of screen digitizer on it, because his background was like animation and art, and so he buys them off of eBay and he fixes them up and he sort of Frankenstein's parts from all the ones he buys cheaply, and he has a ton of these like laptops, and so he brings them, and we will play with them because not everyone in our group has a laptop sitting around or interested in playing. So yeah, so it really does require quite a bit of setup from people. Okay, so let me give you a link on that. It's polymatic.link /1i as an internet, and that will take you over to their website if you want to know more all about it. But
Okay.
anyhow, it's a fun game, and sorry to dominate on the conversation of it. So
No problem.
what other questions do you have on
Well,
it?
about Artemis, not so much, but we haven't been playing a game. Both of us have been playing a certain game.
Yes.
Some of
You
us
more
more
than
than
me.
others.
Yes.
We've been playing Minecraft a lot.
Hmm.
Actually, I've been playing Minecraft for a while now on a hardcore mode, trying to live for 365 days in a year. Yeah, that's an interesting challenge.
So was that your goal? I thought the first goal was just 100 days. So how do you qualify a day? And
Well,
and
a day in
and
Minecraft is 20 minutes, and you can actually see
okay.
the day night cycle. So you
Hmm.
start at day 0, and then keep count.
Got you. I never looked at the day count. I usually just sort of play without thought
Yeah.
until I know I need to go to sleep.
Well, it's a good way to see the it's a good cutoff point when the sun comes up. That's the end of the day. So
Yeah.
that's the end of when you first start, the sun just got up, right? So there's no zombies, no nothing, and then the first night there's stuff happening, and then you play and play
Yeah.
and play, and eventually you get you know into areas where you make nether hubs and other crap.
Which is what you're working on right now.
Yeah, basically. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's still a fun game though, even though I've been playing it a long time now, and I've actually gone to like 120 days already. So
Hmm.
it's still fun. Sometimes it's boring because, I'm trying to figure out something out, and then I just fast forward through everything and play a silly song while I do that. But yeah.
Yeah. Do you have a link to
Oh,
your? You should make a playlist of that too and link that.
there is a
guy up.
playlist, but I'll link that in the video, and yeah, I'll work on that in a
Yeah.
minute. And I've also been playing No Man's Sky. Recently, they came out with a new update to the game, and it's still broken, as it was before the update. It crashes quite a lot, and but it is better. It's a lot better. It's a lot closer to what they envisioned at first. So they're on the right track, but still not great. And then they're coming out with a new Mass Effect next year, which is also open world. and I read an article today that said something about how Mass Effect 4 Andromeda is supposed to be like the No Man's Sky we all wanted.
Hmm.
So,
So I mean, I've seen the videos of No Man's Sky, and it looks good.
it's
And
very
then I've heard
cartoony.
these guys on the show here on the podcast gripe about it.
Yeah,
And I heard the update has made a big improvement on
it
it.
has,
There's
but it's very
yeah.
buggy. There's lots of bugs. For example,
Hmm.
I have a base where I can, put stuff, and I put something on top of the base, and there's like a little ladder you can walk up. But every time you return to the base, somehow the ladder is blocked. You can't get up anymore. So you have to go into edit mode and then get another ladder on there, or remove the ladder, put the ladder back, and then it's suddenly you can walk through it again. So you
Hmm.
can actually lock up some of the aliens you hire, and they're in a closed off room all by themselves. That's pretty funny though.
Yeah. Is there any kind of is there any metaphor or any kind of thought between this and Minecraft where it's like sort of open world?
Well, the thing is, if they would do something like Minecraft where you actually have to craft items instead of just clicking up buttons and holding the mouse button for a couple of seconds to actually craft something, it would be nice. You have patterns and
Hmm.
things to figure out, and that's not documented. That's great. That'd be awesome. But here you just get new recipes from your hired aliens, and that's it.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that's nice about Minecraft is that there are crafting recipes, even though the combinations don't necessarily make sense to make a pumpkin pie, but there it is,
That's how you do
or
it.
cake or whatever. Um, but to the point of that is that you have to craft things.
Yeah.
So, um, sure, in Minecraft you can totally cheat your way through all of it, but if you don't do that, what that means is it makes me want to go search for things or want to go on sort of mini campaigns that I'm
Yeah.
controlling to go get enough of something. For me, Obsidian, right? I've been coding things in Obsidian in the normal world, and so that little creeper can't come along and go boom. Or at least that's my theory. And so I figured out ways of getting a lot of obsidian. So I was watching you how you were generating it, and I've seen that before, and I've generated one block at a time. But in the same respect, I like to go down when I'm digging around for diamonds and stuff, and literally go and take one water bucket and literally drop it onto a pool of lava, and then totally just obsidian it, get the water again, and keep doing that, and just lay down torches, and then I literally have my minefield of obsidian.
Yeah.
And the deeper I can go, the farther I can cover, and that's a quicker way of me generating. So like wanting the need to create that, and the way you can kind of cheat it and create a out of a behavior system and create a little obsidian generator. I came up with my own way of doing it,
Yeah, but
and so
that's
like
not cheating, right? So there's cheating, and then there's doing this. This is something
right,
completely different. This is
right.
just you figuring out the rules and then trying to make the best of it.
Yeah, and so I mean that's the one thing that's nice about is that's a component of it for you to be able to even do more in the game. The rules are a little more open, and yes, you like I said, you can go into a cheat mode and you say, "Give me obsidian," or you can come up with a way where you can get it naturally out of the system. And there are some things in Minecraft that don't come naturally, right? Like you have to trade with villagers and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So there's like internal challenges in the game that are built in to get the things so that you can, um, you know, kill or craft or basically mine 100 blocks in like one click
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
But I think
Um,
that if you look at No Man's Sky compared to Minecraft,
hmm.
Minecraft has more to offer in that area to actually do something.
Right.
Even though you actually can build something, while with No Man's Sky you can just plop down the basic forms, right, and that's it.
Hmm.
Pre-made things. You can't make your own base. You can't really dig a cave and then put your base inside that. You have like a circle where you can build your massive base. Great. Okay. Well, Great, thank you. So I'm about to uninstall No Man's Sky.
Okay.
Mass Effect is also going to have a crafting system,
Really?
which is I hope it's better than No Man's Sky. So if anybody's listening from BioWare, please fix that. Don't mess it up. That's yeah.
Yeah, one of the guys on OG on the podcast had said Paul, because he plays a lot of video games, and he made the comment. He's like, well, this sort of crafting resource idea concept has been around for a while, and there are other games that have done exactly what like Minecraft has done. So this is not new and absolutely original to Minecraft. There are other games that have done these things. But there was some point about that like, you know, I hope that these other games aren't just putting that together, slapping that together to be like, well, that's a fun thing that they do over here in this other game. So I hope it's worthy of having it there at all.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
I mean, the old way of getting like special weapons and stuff is you had to defeat a boss, or you had to defeat a tougher than average
yeah.
NPC.
Well, crafting in games like Diablo and stuff, right? So it's very simple. There's like a couple of patterns you can do, and that's it. But for the difference is with Minecraft, you have to actually put the stuff in a specific order, right? You don't have to get the stuff, and then it will automatically, magically happen. You have to do something in the right order. Now, it's not a lot, but it's still, it's there.
The one thing that's really surprising, I think, about whatever the formula that they got right, I assumed it was not completely engineered by intention. They should have just, I don't know, I just assumed that they failed upwards and they got it right without knowing they were doing it. But people have literally put up servers and created their own maps and created games with Minecraft, which is really impressive.
That's because it's very open.
Yeah. And it isn't because they're just doing like special programming. It's because the fundamentals of the game already have all the pieces for you to be able to do things like that. And then there is the command block stuff where you can do special stuff.
Yeah. So like on the server we had at one point with the teleports, that I did all that with command blocks. Yeah. There are also other games, right? So we talked about video games a bit, and there's like games like Cards Against Humanity.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good
I
game.
remember playing that once. It's a horrible game. It's very
Did you
funny.
play it here?
Yeah, I played it
with
with
yeah. So that came about for a friend of mine, Albert, and he bought that for me one year. And the only place I had ever played is with like, groups of friends. And he was sort of on the bleeding edge of knowing about it when it was, I guess, a Kickstarter. And so then he bought it for me. And so it was great. And then for a number of years, he kept buying me the expansion packs. And I never needed to buy the expansion packs because he'd always pick up a copy for me. But yeah, it's interesting. It's a really fun game, and it was a thing I think came out of Kickstarter. I believe that's where its origin was.
The problem is playing it with non-English speakers. It's hard.
Okay.
So
they not translated them in other languages?
There's a Dutch one, but it's not that good.
Yeah. I will say though, if you go out to their website, they're really sort of a fun group of people that are clearly, they're doing well with this game and they're having fun. Basically they built a company and established a fulfillment center, and they're doing a great job.
Did they also do the fulfillment for
Exploding Kittens?
Exploding Kittens, yeah.
Yeah, so they created internally they found that they needed to create a fulfillment company, I believe, called Black Box. And when Exploding Kittens was literally exploding, I guess Black Box and them or whatever did a thing, and their fulfillment is through Black Box.
Yeah. They have a new one, right? They have a new
Imploding Kittens.
Imploding Kittens, yeah.
Yep. I kickstarted that this year, and I got it somewhere back in October.
What?
And I put it literally on the box of Exploding Kittens box because the only place I'm going to play it is with friends. And like even though a group of us get together with Artemis, we're not playing Exploding Kittens that often. Yeah.
I played it a couple of times. Family was kind of fun, but you don't want to play the not suitable for work version with family because they can't really handle, 1,000-yard back hair or something like that, or some of the more racy versions of that.
So there's also, but like even pre Cards Against Humanity, remember Apples to Apples?
No.
Okay, so Apples to Apples is sort of like very, very similar to Cards Against Humanity. And it's more of a family friendly game. And this, I don't know what the age is on it, but I know in the 2000s I was playing it with friends, and it's a real fun game to play, but you need at least 4 people or more. And Apples to Apples. And then what they did is they created multiple versions of it, which I never played. But that was another one that was sort of very similar kind of idea against Cards Against Humanity's format, except Cards Against Humanity's format is a little more racier, and it's, racier, I don't mean like racist, but like a little racier in its content.
Yeah. Ages 17 and up, right?
and there's constant extension packs too.
Yeah.
So and there's little things they do that, again, like I said, this group is having fun.
Yeah.
If you get the bigger, blacker box, it's a physical box for you to put all your extension packs in, except now there's too many extension packs, so it's not big enough. But the thing is, if you look inside the box, you'll see there's this little bump in the lid. And if you take an X-Acto knife and you cut it out, you literally can extract out a secret card. So there's lots of little things they do because they're like, hey, we could do that. That'd be kind of a fun thing to do. And they just go do it. And the cost on these things aren't that, you're talking like, what, $10, $15. They're not that much.
Yeah. There was also a game where you had like an envelope you never supposed to open. I remember that from somewhere. Somebody was talking about that. I don't know. It was.
Yeah, I don't know
like
if I know that
game.
one.
Well, I also was playing. I played a lot of Carcassonne after you introduced me to it. While I was in Pennsylvania.
That's a good game I like, and my friend Matt introduced that to me. But let's go back to Exploding Kittens. So, do you know what you have that too?
Yeah, I have it too. I have it's somewhere. It's like in a stack of games and stuff.
Yeah. So, the interesting thing about this is there's a guy who creates webcomics called the Oatmeal.
Yeah.
And him and two other people got together who've been making sort of games here and there, like card games. And they kind of joined together into a super force. And then they went out, and by the weight of the guy who creates the Oatmeal, through his strength and his popularity, they just created a Kickstarter to create a game using his art called Exploding Kittens. And they did that. And it from a historical perspective on Kickstarter, it literally piled up about $1 million in a few days. And it was crazy. And I happened to kickstart it in the first day or two, pre-$1 million success. And I heard about it and I was like, okay, that looks fun. All right, I'll try this out. So I got it, and then I exposed it to other people. And so it's a fun thing to play. But then they did the second run, which is Imploding Kittens. So did you get that yet? Did you buy it at all?
I thought it was going to be another Kickstarter, but I didn't see it yet.
No, it came and went really quickly.
Okay.
It came and went really quickly, and I forgot all about it until it showed up in October. So
okay.
But you can get it on Amazon now.
Okay, I'll have to look at that. This might be a nice extension to Exploding Kittens.
Yeah, I will say there's a cone of shame in the box. If you have pets, you know what that means. So I've not read the rules on it yet, because the time to do that is when you do it among friends.
Well, if you've seen Up, you know about the cone of shame.
Yes, indeed. Okay, so moving back. So we were talking about
Carcassonne.
what? Oh yeah, Carcassonne. It's an interesting game. Do you play this a lot with friends?
Well, I have played a lot. I've played with some family members that
Mm-hmm.
that are into this kind of game. I have some of the expansions, so the bridges and stuff. I have
Mm-hmm.
that one. It's a nice game. It's nice because it's very replayable, and you
Mm-hmm.
can actually play it on like iPads and stuff with your family members if they're not near you. That's a nice way of getting to know
You
the
can
game.
play it online. Yeah. I have it on my machine here. I have it on my laptop. I think I did buy it for Android, but I need like you need a big tablet for me because the controls don't work well on a even on like my phone is whatever 5.6 5.5 inch screen. It's still not good enough. The I don't know, the touch screen stuff on it was not sensitive enough.
Yeah, I had it on
And
iPhone, and my iPhone is just not big enough for that. So I played on the
yeah.
iPad, and that's better.
Yeah, so if you have it on a larger screen format, I would think 8 to 10 inches is probably sufficient to play the online version. Um, they have extra things they've never put into physical game format, only available online.
Okay.
Same thing with the Exploding Kittens. There's an Exploding Kittens game you can play with other people, and you can buy multiple decks that did not made expansion packs for the physical game yet.
Hmm. Oh,
Yeah.
well.
So that's sort of a new wave that I've been seeing. So let's talk about Carcassonne. So how does it work? What does it do?
Well, it's basically just you build cities, and you can claim the cities and the spaces in between, and monasteries you can claim. You basically just build an area, build a map. You start with a river, and then you place square cards with parts of cities, parts of monasteries. There's just green grass, roads, and they have to fit. So that's the challenge. And
Right,
then
they have to match up.
and you have
Yep.
like meeples, little tiny little figurines that you put on the map. And yeah, it's kind of fun.
Yeah, so
You don't want to play it all the time, but it's a nice way to finish up a night.
you need like a big tabletop or
Yeah,
a big flat surface area
yeah.
for it.
The squarer the better.
Yeah, so the tiles are they're little square paper blocks like stiff cardboard, and they each there's four edges on well, okay, so yeah, there's four edges on the square, right? And so each edge can either have land, a road, city, or it could be all land, it could be all road, it could be all city. And you basically, randomly go into a bag that is,
Yeah.
cloth bag, and you pull out a tile, and you got to place that down somewhere. And if you're matching two city ends together, cities have higher points than roads do, and or maybe farming land when you're claiming farming land. That's how you can kind of claim open spaces. And so there's different points and different things. But if you complete a city, they have one kind of point value. If you don't complete a city, they have less point values. And the same thing with roads and whatever.
Yeah.
And sometimes there are little enhancer components that are attached. So depending on your expansion pack, if you have a city piece that has a shield on it and you complete and close that city, you'll get extra points by a multiple of each of the tiles attached to your city. And then the same thing goes for they have other little things like a cloth or wheat or they look like root beer with barrels of beer,
Yeah.
those kinds of things, which at the end when you score up will give you extra points. But then additionally, who is the Baron of beer gets more points, right? And little things like that. So the point system really kind of puts the logistics around the game. And you're right, you have to kind of match the pieces up. So you can't put a green field against a road part. And when you start out, it's pretty easy because you can match up roads to roads. But then you start thinking about, oh well, this is a city piece adjacent to another road thing, and like if I put that down on John's city, it's gonna totally screw up his ability to close out his city. And so you can be really kind of supportive, or you can be really, vindictive about it.
Guess how I
uh,
play.
Depending on who you play with, so you play with my buddy Matt. He likes to build roads. He's a road builder. He loves to build roads. So when he pulls out a road tile, I know where he's gonna stick that. You're scoping, and the thing is, it's all random. So you get a random tile, and the more tiles that you have, the bigger and the more random your cities become.
Yeah.
And then you were talking about meeples. The meeples are these little wooden guys. So they're all one side size, and then there's one big guy who's like almost double the size, and they're worth like one defense point basically. So if you put a meeple down onto your city, and John wants to come along and he's got a neighboring city, and wants to connect our two up, because my meeple is on it, I will get all the points when we close out that city. If he's got a meeple on it, and we join a tile together that puts together, and we share the points and all the commodities at the end of when we close it up. If I got more than one meeple on my city, and I have more meeples than he has, then I get to steal the points. So again, it's all based on some conditions of the point system. Um,
And the big guy, the big meeple is the one that's on the scoreboard.
uh, yeah, I mean, I suppose you could do that. We never do that. We put them on the down on the game to play.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I thought that according to the rules, you should only put them.
Yeah,
on
I think at some point,
scoreboard.
depending on the expansion packs, because I have the inns and cathedrals. You were talking about monasteries.
Well, they
Then
come
there's
with the normal game. I have the normal game here, and they're
oh
in
really?
there.
Yeah. I have the river set 2, and I have the inns and cathedrals, the one with the bridges, and the one with the builder. So the little builder guy, you can only put one of these like meeples or one of these extra, little pigs or whatever down on a tile if it's empty. So for example, if I'm putting a piece down that's connected to my city and it already has a meeple on it, I can't put another meeple guy down, right? You can only put him down in the first instance. And the builder, you can put him on an attached city, but he stays with the city until it's closed. But what that means is every time you put down a compatible piece to attach on your city, you go and you can pull a second tile. So again, all these little things, depending on the expansion pack, will create scenarios and conditions for the game to make it more fun.
Yeah. Have you played something completely different, by the way? Ingress.
Yeah, so no. I know that
Have
was
you
one of
played
the early.
Pokemon Go?
Yeah, and I know they're based on the same engine. So I never played Ingress pretty early on, primarily for the sake of the fact that I don't know, I just thought it was a little weird seeing people run around randomly, like idiots in the park or something.
Well,
Um,
now you got a
but
lot more
then
of them.
but then we got a lot more of them with Pokemon Go. And even with that, I very rarely ever did a walkabout, in the neighborhood for Pokemon Go. If I
Yeah.
turned it on at work,
Well,
I
your
was
area
waiting
is
for the
not
laptop
really.
to boot up. Yeah, well, you don't really walk around my area. You
Yeah.
drive, is what you do. Yeah.
Seems
But yeah,
dangerous
so
to
let's
walk
talk about
around.
it. What's interesting about Ingress and how it relates to Pokemon?
Well, Ingress basically is the thing that Pokemon Go is built on. All the data that everybody collected during Ingress is used in Pokemon Go. So if you want to see where all the Pokestops are, just look at the Ingress Intel map and you'll see every Pokestop appear. That's how they did it. It's a nice way of walking about, but the Pokemon Go thing, it's kind of going away because there's not many players here anymore. So
Yeah, I heard rumors it was phasing out. I stopped playing it because I wasn't really actively aggressively playing it. And then about when I was fading off a few weeks afterwards, I heard there were reports where people were saying, "Oh, yeah, there's like 15 million less people playing it, but there's still 30 million people still playing it." And then they show a video somewhere like I think it was in Thailand where someone found like a Snorlax or something like that, and there was I don't know like a massive amount of people in the video where they all of a sudden were just this crowd of maybe a couple thousand people all of a sudden went running in one direction for no reason because you hear someone in the background go, "Oh, Snorlax," or something, and then boom, this whole community of people were only in this
oh man.
square because of that.
Oh.
Um, and
For
that was
for
when they're saying that,
virtual things, right? So
yeah. But I mean, there was on Android, there was a lot of these early games using the mapping data from
yeah.
like Google Maps, right? There was that zombies game
Uh,
before there was Ingress,
for like the run keeper thing, like run zombies run. That one.
something like that, yeah, where you had to run away from the
Yeah, they're
zombies,
basically alternate reality games, right? So,
right? Yeah,
so
except there was no VR headsets back then.
well, running with a VR headset sounds kind of dangerous.
No, I agree. Definitely, if you're in the wild with Pokemon Go, that's a incredibly bad idea. Yeah, even if it's augmented reality, you know how people work with walking along the street and they literally run into a pole because they're texting.
Yeah, I've seen that happen.
Yeah.
But still, if you look at the Gear VR, there is a camera on that phone, and you can actually turn
Hmm.
on the camera inside Gear VR. You can look at the camera through your screen. You have like a tiny screen where you can look out. It's an interesting view, but I wouldn't want to,
Yeah.
eventually, I hope something like WoW gets the VR treatment or something like that.
That'd
That'd be
be
nice.
interesting. I would really like to see Artemis get a VR treatment.
Oh, that'd
I
be nice
know
though. Yeah.
I mean, it's basically you got to keep in mind that Artemis was built basically by one guy, and then I think he contracted out because he couldn't build everything. I think on the Android and the iOS versions, but that's it. Fundamentally, the whole thing has been built by one person, and yes, it is. It would make more sense if it was official, legit, like Star Trek.
Hmm.
Um, and the sort of franchise that owns Star Trek, they have made games and they made sort of like a VR game, but it's never going to be as good as Artemis, I
Hmm.
think. It looks neat, and I've seen like previous Star Trek actors hyping it up and playing it and being really impressed by it. And it is very impressive, but I think Artemis put more thought and less production or theatrics into it.
No,
Right.
it's the role playing. I think that's also
Hmm.
involved, of course, because
Yeah.
if you
And
look at games like D&D or you know when there's more imagination involved, right? So on the part of the user, there's not no flashy 3D graphics and stuff like that,
mhm.
right? That is it's your brain is the rendering engine basically, and I think that's also important. So yeah, I guess we're done with games. I guess.
Well, one thing I wanted to kind of fill in is I want to understand what was interesting about Ingress. And I think that explains quite a bit of what Pokemon's about. But what was sort of
For
key
me,
about Ingress that made it a game of reason to pay attention to it or play it?
well, I played Ingress because at the time I was walking a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So during walking, I could just turn on Ingress and then go to the stops and get my points and get the portals, and that's it. That's why I played it. I eventually stopped playing it because it was boring eventually. And I think
Hmm.
that's the same thing that's happening to Pokemon Go now. So everybody played their game, got their points, got their coins, and now everybody's bored because it's starting to become winter. Now it might be becoming bigger in places like Australia or something because it's summer there now. So maybe
Hmm.
that's maybe. And the new
Well, so
Pokemon game came out, so that might also be taking up some of the people's interest.
so one of the things that like okay, so Pokemon, the basic idea is that you need to fight other monsters and then you can collect them, and then you can deploy them. Pokemon Go is not that
No.
complicated. But in Ingress, right, so you have to walk around to physically match up on the GPS the location,
Yeah.
and then it'll give you things like Pokemon Go does. It will give you things and gives you an opportunity to what play the game
Well,
to win those things.
the idea was to capture portals, and
Mm-hmm.
with those portals, and you can link them up, and you create fields, and you create. Well, there was a whole meta game behind it, like aliens trying to come into our world and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
and that. It, yeah, it was okay the story, but they tried to do like an alternate reality game and like videos, and there were like news updates. I haven't even installed the app on my new phone. It's yeah.
Yeah, I got rid of Pokemon Go because I just wasn't playing it actively, and my day to day doesn't involve a big, huge walking commute or on the train or anything like that. It's in a car to the office, to a place, to back to home. So my life's not that interesting. I didn't have a place where a lot of these things would be just sitting around, easy to collect, easy to play, you
Yeah.
know.
No, it started sending me notifications, so that was the moment I decided to, go away.
Or-
If you want to look at me playing Minecraft, you can do that. Polymatic.link/1J. That'll take you to my YouTube channel, where you can go and watch me do the year of Minecraft. So yeah. Anything else about games?
No, I mean I think that's plenty. There's a lot of good board games out there. We didn't talk about like Ticket to Ride. We didn't talk about there's a whole bunch of them.
Well, there's enough
Chrononauts.
to fill like weeks and weeks and weeks of
Yeah,
content
we were
about
gonna ask
games.
a friend of mine to come by. That he plays a lot of board games. So like there is definitely a huge difference between board games. There's plenty of board games out there that are beyond like life, and what was the other one? Used to be a whole bunch Monopoly. Like there's a whole different world of board games that are out there, and there's a constant amount of like indie board games that are being made or card games are being made available in places like Kickstarter that
Hmm.
you can support people making their own games, and every once in a while you get one that's like a clear winner. The same guys who did Exploding Kittens and Imploding Kittens, they've created another game, and they sent out to all their Kickstarter backers of previous games. What is something with bears now? I supported it. I've already forgotten though what it is. I'll play it when it comes. But there's like a lot of neat little card games that aren't that expensive that you can play with friends that are available in independent places that are beyond your standard old stuff.
And
Um,
we haven't even touched on Magic the Gathering either.
yeah, those kind of card games, right? Or Warhammer, or any of the miniature games, right?
No, yeah.
And also video games. I mean, that's the one that's in the most mainstream, right? So
Mm.
people get to hear about that most often. Uh,
Well,
yeah,
we should have some people on that can talk about stuff like Warhammer and the other one, War Machine, and stuff like that.
yeah, yeah. I definitely know someone could talk about Magic.
I
It's
have
not
like an
me.
entire box filled with like a couple of thousand
Yeah.
of cards.
I might be able to find someone who does Warhammer. And in terms of games, I think there's a lot of really neat independent stuff happening on Kickstarter and also on Steam.
Hmm.
Steam is a great Valve corporation. Was it steampowered.com?
Yeah.
We'll get you to Steam. Steam's got a lot of great games on there, and then games that basically went from their first run, they made all their money, and now you can buy them at legally discounted rates that are downloadable online on Steam.
Hmm.
Um, you know, I haven't gotten the Kerbal yet. That's another one that's going to consume my life force, I believe.
Yep, yep. And it's getting better and better. I really like Kerbal Space Program. It's a nice way to kill a couple of Kerbals in like a night or something. Like, just build something silly, put some Kerbals in it, and let it blow up. Okay. Um. So some other stuff. The Expanse book, the new Expanse book, is coming out in a couple of days. So I'm really excited about that. And then the new season premiere is gonna be February 1st next year. So it's been moved up. So I'm
Hmm.
really excited about that too. And it's going to be on Netflix. So yeah, for at least for me, for the
Oh,
European people.
yeah, I don't know. I know it to be on Sci-Fi Channel. I bought on Amazon Video, Prime Video. I bought the first season, and it wasn't that expensive. So I'm probably likely to go ahead and buy the second season when it's available.
Hmm. Well,
So what is it that you liked about that series?
about the series.
Yeah.
Well, I like the books, so I was kind of I'm already ahead of the story in the series. So that's why I liked the series.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically just Game of Thrones, but in space, right? So it's the same kind of epicness. Although I don't like fantasy, so Game of Thrones kind of wasted on me. I don't like Game of Thrones.
Really,
But
you don't? You
no,
just don't? Okay.
it's just not my
I
thing.
I think it's one of those. It builds up on you.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
I think
you have
because
to
I
kind of.
read the books, that was really open to this series,
Mm-hmm.
and I was not like I was excited about the series and then read the books. But I read the books and I was like, yay, series! I didn't know that was gonna happen. Yay!
Oh yeah.
So yeah, it was good, and then it's coming on Netflix. That's gonna be exciting for me because we usually only get the series like either through the Internet Lending Library or getting it on Blu-ray or DVD a couple of months later.
Hmm. Okay.
So it's kind of nice they're gonna put that on Netflix too.
Yeah,
And
I'll look for it when it shows up. In places.
mm,
I liked it well enough to want to own it.
mm. Well, if you want, you can look up the audiobooks on Audible. They're very nice to the voice actor for the audiobooks is pretty good. It was very enjoyable. It was actually what got me back into books, audiobooks. Oh yeah, and the Ono printer has still not shipped. So yay! But they have a web app now. So
Well, that's good.
yeah.
Um, I before the year's even out, I've already kickstarted a whole bunch of things.
Hmm.
That I hopefully I will see someday. um,
We should keep a scoreboard of stuff we actually got.
yeah, I guess so. So there's one that I'm still holding on to. I mean, I've given up on it. I'll never see it. It'll never happen. They've been sort of in failure mode forever, and it's just never gonna happen. So I expect to never see it. It was this guy was basically making he basically made a portable keyboard, right? But the whole surface it was basically a touchpad.
Okay.
So it's like a portable keyboard that you could put in your laptop bag, and then you could Bluetooth connect to it, and you could use the whole. There was no mouse that you needed. The whole keyboard was a mouse, so you would just hover over the pieces, over the keys. And I think it's been over 2 years, and I still haven't seen the thing.
Okay.
So
No updates.
no, yeah, there's updates, of course. They took your money. At least they're gonna, I paid for the updates. Is basically what happened. But usually I've gotten smarter about it. I've had very few like Kickstarter fails. So for me, the issue on that is that I look at things that are going to be near funded, and have a history of being funded and following through successfully with a product, or already have a pre-existing good product. So, I won't kickstart something. I won't back something unless I know there's a good safe chance that I'm gonna get the thing in a timely fashion.
Hmm.
So
Well, the Pebble. Did you ever do the Pebble thing?
the Pebble?
The Pebble smartwatch. They got
Oh
bought
no!
by Fitbit this week.
Oh really? I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
Pebble has been in a bit of a slump. It's
I don't know. I mean, I've heard the reviews that have been pretty positive for them. They just really aren't innovating, but
yeah.
they're also doing it from a small company perspective. They're not, their competition is the big companies are doing Android watches, right? And the Pebble is by definition or by design not
Yeah, but
an
having a
Android
watch that you
watch.
don't need to charge every day
Yeah, right.
sounds kind of
Yeah.
good. But what I heard is that they're gonna close down the Pebble brand, so they're not gonna be selling any more of the e-paper smartwatches, which is gonna be
So what
sad
is
because I think it's a good idea. But
I knew people that loved them and were totally into it. Um, yeah, I don't know. I never had one.
mm,
I am
well,
watch free. I have a cell phone, and
I have a
I
Fitbit,
took
so I'm on the other side of the spectrum.
yeah. I mean I took it off because I noticed that I was checking my watch and it was making time slow down. When I was, like frustrated or stressed out or something. And so I took it off, and now I have to go out of my way to turn on my phone and, do the password thing and look up the time. So it slowed me down from, looking at my watch, waiting for the day to be over.
So
Um,
you had some fun stuff, right, for the list?
I did. You have a bunch of stuff too, right?
Yep.
I guess I'll start. So I saw the trailer for it. I don't know if it's on Netflix or not yet. I think it's coming this month. Netflix has something called the White Rabbit Project. So if you guys have ever watched MythBusters, if you can take away Jamie and Adam Savage, that I believe is what your Rabbit Project is. The basically Tori, Carrie, and Grant, right?
Yep.
And they have a project that looks pretty awesome. I don't know if it's myth busting. It might be more like myth exploding. But there's a trailer available on Netflix, and you can check that out.
I listened to the podcast, Adam Savage podcast.
Yep.
And he was very excited about this. So
Mm-hmm.
I'll give it a go.
It,
Now, of course,
it's good to see them back on TV somewhere.
yeah. There was another TV show that Carrie and Tori did, called Thrill Factor or something like that.
Oh,
It was okay. They went to different places. They went to roller coasters and stuff like that, just to see their thrills or something. It was an interesting show for a minute, and then I got bored. But I think this is more towards their the thing that they're good at, And they're rebooting MythBusters too, I think.
are they really?
Yeah, search for the new MythBusters.
Oh, with like a whole new cast, because I
Yeah.
know that I thought Adam and Jamie were done.
Yeah.
They're done with being done.
Yeah. And then I think one of the Nerdist guys did. He got hooked up into that, so he's the presenter for that, and they're trying to find the new MythBusters. But that seems like a bad idea. They should just get two new people, start with them, have them start from scratch.
Yeah, I mean it's good. It's a good format. I can't say I've watched every single MythBusters, but I think at this point I probably can. It's definitely a show to enjoy. It is very enjoyable, but there's 8 seasons or more?
More, but towards the end it got kind of repeating itself.
Mm.
But I really liked the earlier shows. I have them on Netflix. So what I sometimes do is just play games and put it on Netflix and just run it in the
Let them
background.
run in the background. Yep.
It's a good way of wasting some time on that.
That's how I Minecraft actually. I'll sit on the couch with the laptop and I will play Minecraft while I'm more listening to what's going on TV than watching it. But anyhow, so you can check out the White Rabbit project trailer at polymatic.link/19 as in 19.
Okay. I've been listening to a new book. Well, it's not really a new book, but it's a book by John Scalzi called Lock-In. It's about a person who is a victim of a disease that like I think it was like 40 million people got, and then they got locked in their own body, so they can't speak, they can't do anything. They can still hear, they can still see, but it's like their entire nervous system got shut down.
Okay.
And this is about like people started developing stuff so they can still do stuff in the real world. This is near future, so this is but it's written in a way that you don't know the person's gender. Like, you don't know the main character's gender, which is interesting. And they made 2 audio recordings for this on Audible. One read by Will Wheaton, and the other one read by Amber Benson. And I'm listening to the Will Wheaton version now. I might actually get the other one as well.
Mm-hmm.
But it's very interesting to know that even though you're listening to Will Wheaton speaking, who in your mind that's a guy, you never actually hear like her or his or something. It's never said. So that's an interesting way of looking at it. It's and it's a good story so far. I haven't actually finished it, but it's a good book to get back into books.
Do you have links for this?
Oh yeah, sorry. Polymatic.link/1A for Will Wheaton's version, and Polymatic.link/1B for Amber Benson's version.
Okay, awesome. So you've been sharing some music, and I see my interest in music is sort of eclectic. I find people on SoundCloud. I find people through YouTube. I have not been listening to like American radio forever, and even then, when that was the case, I would seek out like an artist's singles and I would do remixes. So like for me, my interest was never 100% mainstream, and so every once in a while you'll discover talent, basically, and I frame it that way. In multiple places, let's say on social media, right? So there are plenty of video platforms. The ones that are really owning it right now are Instagram and Snapchat. But while Vine was still around, which was basically 6-second videos, so people were making videos inside of 6 seconds to kind of gauge and gain your attention. Every once in a while, you get somebody that would play original piece of music or would sing something, and what you get to see shine through in those 6 seconds is talent. You got to see the talent and not necessarily the production. And so one of those girls was this girl, Anna Clendenning. And so she would, every once in a while, she'd share like a funny, crazy, psychotic video, and then she would also like do a little snippet of a cover or something original of hers. And eventually she migrated her way, before Vine shut down, over onto YouTube. And when she does live recordings, they're really freaking awesome. She does covers, but she does her own original stuff, so you can find her stuff on iTunes. But I just wanted to share 2 videos with you guys. Polymatic.link 1D. This is a really good video. This is an original of hers. And then the other one is Polymatic.link 1C. This is one of the more recent ones that I just sort of tagged a while ago. Yeah, it's also pretty good. I think this one's also original. I think it's going to be, both songs are going to be on an upcoming album she's going to release, like on iTunes. So this is just an example of somebody who didn't have to go through like the standard system, and is just sort of clear that she's got some really good singing and writing talent right there. And I don't know, when she does put something out, I really do enjoy what she's releasing, especially if it's original. So yeah, so polymatic.link /1D and 1C.
Well, it's something you see a lot more. Artists releasing their own stuff either on
Mm-hmm.
YouTube or somewhere else, and like Bandcamp, and there's like a couple of those sites that actually, they can actually make some money off their own their projects. It's nice.
Yep.
They don't have to go through publishers or stuff like that.
There is you can, I mean, I'm constantly happy and surprised that when I see stuff show up on Amazon. So I bought Anna's last album that she released, self-funded, released off of Amazon. I downloaded it, bought it, downloaded it, and so I'm hoping I can do that again. So I'm really excited when I see, like, people being able to do that. There's clearly some there are some like publishing things that you can do to be able to like distribute and release through whatever the logistics are of, like, Google and Amazon, and I don't know, pick your favorite. Was it Blue Rhapsody? Is that still around? Whatever. So, but I don't know. I think it's kind of neat, and she's one I at least recommend. If you don't like her music, then okay, whatever. She's also on SoundCloud, but once you figure out how to spell her name, it's really not hard to find her.
Yeah. So I also found a video. He has a lot of videos like this on his YouTube channel. But this video is about what dry ice does in a frozen pond. It's pretty nice, pretty interesting to look at. Polymatic.link /15. I don't remember that guy's name, but he's not really big, I think. Let me just see. Let me just check that.
Oh, you know what? Anything I ever share, it doesn't really matter. I mean, you look.
He has
get curious.
7 million followers, so he's pretty big.
Oh, okay. So he's pretty big. I mean, I generally don't like. I don't look at somebody. I see good videos and good talent and good artists and good at all the time on YouTube, where their view count is like hundreds at best, and their subscriber count might be large, but their view counts on average are like nothing. And so you look at that statistically, and that something doesn't calculate. But to the point is, there's plenty of people out there doing really great, awesome things and putting a lot of money and effort into it, and time into it, and their view counts are like nothing. So don't look at me sending everybody to people with millions of hits, views, or whatever. I'm going to send you something I think might be good or worth looking at, and then sort of spreading the love about.
Okay, so you had something.
Oh yeah, so I've been noticing this. I don't even know what you call it, but there are people that sort of do these video essays about certain topics, and there's a whole bunch of them that are pretty good at it. But I just wanted I kind of littered through a couple of these in here. One of the first guys that I wanted to bring up with this guy is Captain Christian, and he's got. I'm just looking up the two videos here. One I think is about Godzilla, and the other one I did because John, I know you're a fan of South Park. So there's another one with South Park, but polymatic.link /1E and 1F. He usually kind of dives into a topic, and, look, the video production work on it is getting better over time. The earlier you go back on his videos, they're not the greatest. But the content and the conversation is there, and you're talking a few minutes at best. Yeah. So I don't know. I thought he was worthy of looking at some of his videos. There's more of them that are like this. We'll get to them. That kind of have these little video essays about a topic, right? And his most recent one was on Godzilla.
Okay.
And got to keep in mind they do come from the individual author's opinion. So, but they are entertaining to watch and listen to at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So recently, I think it was yesterday or today, I watched a trailer for a new game by Hideo Kojima. called Death Stranding. I have no idea what's going on in this video. But it features Mads Mikkelsen, and Guillermo del Toro. Um, it's strange. It's yeah. The people on Twitter are like, have no idea what's going on. People on YouTube, same thing. But you can find it at polymatic.link/16, and I do want to put a warning on this because it's kind of disturbing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Go
I'm
check it out
likely not
later.
to watch it. So I got one continue on this sort of video essay stuff. So there's another guy, this nerd writer. He puts out some pretty neat video essays. They're not always. They're into like some of them. You see people do video essays. They don't even want to talk about pictures or art or film, right? And he's not necessarily confined to just those topics. But I was just going to send you over to his YouTube page, which is polymatic.link/1h. Every once in a while, he's got something pretty interesting you should take a look at if you see a video of interest, topic of interest. So he's another one, and somewhere down the line here, I'll share one more on the topic of it, because there are, depending on the topic, there are different people who do different kind of video essays.
So I found, I followed this guy a lot. Jellopocalypse. He does a few welcome to videos, like welcome to Tumblr, welcome to Facebook, welcome to Twitter.
Oh, really?
They're pretty funny. And now he made one, welcome to webcomics, and you can find it at polymatic.link/17. It's very funny, very nerdy, very, painfully true. And same thing goes for Twitter and Facebook and Tumblr. Those videos are pretty funny. So
yeah, I'll have to. All right, I'm bookmarking that now. I have to check that out. Okay, so the last from me on the topic of like video essay stuff, there's a guy here. He focuses more on like screenwriting, screenplays, film, and that's someone from the YouTube channel is called Lessons from the Screenplay, and polymatic.link/1g. I think if you guys go out there and you watch one video, you start watching one video and you just find it's not interesting to you at all. Look, when you say something like video essay, like TED Talks can be really, really interesting sometimes. And on paper, the description is, oh, they're lectures. We put lectures online. And so you go, oh, that sounds boring. But then you watch a TED Talk by somebody you admire, and you go, oh, that's a really interesting perspective. So you might get that same kind of feeling or output on one of their videos. So Lessons from the Screen, if you want to focus more on screenwriting and by comparison of how it was written and how it was executed, there you go, polymatic.link/1g.
And I recently saw the gameplay trailer for Mass Effect Andromeda. We've talked about this a bit before, but they released the gameplay trailer, and it's looking pretty good. So the graphics is pretty good. Only the face animations kind of look really, really, really bad. Yeah. So I hope they fix that before they release it. They still have like 3 months. They're supposed to release it somewhere in March But there was like a leak that would say that they would release it on the 21st of March. So, hope they fix it before they release it. You can find the trailer at polymatic.link/18. So 18.
All right, last I got one. This is also a video game. I was thinking about this. So there's this guy who does sort of gameplay, what do they call it? Let's play. That's what they call them on YouTube, videos. He does all kinds of other stuff, but this guy goes by, his name is Kevin, and he has a channel called Cheers Kevin, and then he started doing games on it. And I don't think he's got a playlist, so I'm just going to link you up to the most latest. But what he did is he found a mod for Minecraft, where you can write Lua scripts and do things. And so what he's been going through the process of, and this is number 8, Minecraft Agoraphobia, Polymatic.link/1K. Will take you to the latest, I think, as of now when we're recording this. And what he's been doing is he's been figuring out how to write Lua. So you'll see him go literally jump over into Vim and write, and figure out how to write Lua and go through the programming effort and then go see if he can execute it in Minecraft through the mod.
Yeah, that's a little robot, right?
Yeah. So he was doing, and he named his robot Vinny. So, this guy used to do other YouTube things in the past that I followed, so that's kind of where I know him from. I don't watch all his Let's Play videos, but I took an interest in Minecraft Agoraphobia. I found it kind of interesting. They run long. So if you're not interested in programming any form whatsoever, and or Minecraft combined, then this is not going to be a big hit for you. But Polymatic.link/1K. Figure I'd just slam that in there.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting.
Yeah,
how he does it.
It's interesting to watch. Maybe you don't watch all of them. Maybe you skip a bunch because he just literally records a video. What happens, and then he works on it next time he gets to it. That's the video you see. So it's not all about success. There will be plenty of failure in trying. So.
Okay, so I think that's it for today. Alan, where can they find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Chase, CHAESS.
And you can find me on Twitter at Webdevy, WEBDEVVIE. For feedback, you can reach us at podcast@polymatic.media. Our Twitter is the Polymatic. Our website is polymatic.media, and I hope you tune in next time. The music in this episode was by Say Uns. It was licensed under Creative Commons Attribution and found on the Free Music Archive. You can find these tracks at shortner.com/PRK